Stuck.
Famous for his sarcasm and his deadpan delivery, Paul Merton was once voted in the top 20 greatest international comedians in history. He's also been a panellist on the topical quiz Have I Got News For You for the past 22 years.
Isn't he sweet?
He's gorgeous.
Don't hold back.
I was trying to mend the gulf between us.
Oh, there's no gulf.
Oh, I see.
It's a chasm. You can't even say Robert Maxwell.
I think we're just on the edge of Ian's ignorance.
I met a friend of mine, Maxwell Robert.
One more sentence should confirm it.
Can you ask him some questions about Robert Maxwell?
If it's got anything to do with me, I'd have Sooty.
I've got no sympathy for these people. Why buy a house that's in the middle of a river?
Big breasts and go, oh, hello, how you doing?
And where's one of our submarines stuck at the moment?
Wolverhampton.
And he's here right now. Welcome.
That was an extraordinary gallop through the last 20 years, wasn't it?
There you go. Well, funny enough, when
nutshell.
you started that, Margaret Thatcher was still Prime Minister.
Yes, by about 6 or 7 weeks, but she suddenly couldn't take the pressure of a weekly BBC Two satirical programme. So, yeah, she
You
was
saw her
Prime
off.
Minister. Yeah, we did. We waved her goodbye.
And the politicians on the show always tend to give, don't they? Is there a party that's funnier than the other party?
Well, I don't know. They have a sort of a different agenda, don't they, when they come on to politicians? They must look as if they're enjoying themselves, but they mustn't look as if they're being unserious or being too jokey. So it's a sort of difficult line to walk. I think generally the people who host it have a better job than the guests, because at least the host has a sort of idea of what's coming up in the script and stuff, whereas the politician, the MP that's there, may not know
Well,
that...
let me throw some names
Yes.
at you then. Okay, Boris Johnson.
Yes. Well, what are you asking me? Whether he's sort of
Good guest?
good guest? Oh, yeah, very good guest. Yeah, he was a very good guest. I think it led on to other things for him.
Well, possibly Prime Minister.
Do you reckon? What are you saying?
So I should have been
Elevated
there's
him
been a
in.
knighthood for me somewhere along the way.
Neil Kinnock.
Neil was pretty bad, I'm afraid. He was very, very slow. It was a torturous recording. They managed to speed him up in the edit. They had this sort of magic thing, I don't even know about it, these guys here will know, the technicians will know, but you can speed somebody up and it doesn't appear as if they've been sped up.
Is
but it
that
can
right?
be done by about
Never heard of that.
15%. You can just... and stop their voice going high, so we had to do that to him.
Anne Widdecombe.
Oh, dreadful.
Why
I'd ask
did you
that glass
say
of
that?
water before I'd ask her again.
Really?
Oh, she was
Why?
awful. The first time she was on, she thought, you know, it was on beginner's luck, and she sort of stumbled through it, and everybody thought, oh, that's nice. Look at this, Anne Widdecombe stumbling through it. The second time she come on, because it'd gone quite well, she thought, oh, I know how to do this. She was telling the writers to rewrite the jokes. She was telling the producers how to shoot the thing. Oh, no, dreadful.
Do you think that
Didn't she,
stems from a bit of being sort of fish out of water, being a bit nervous, do you think, maybe?
No, I think it's just politicians. Some of them are really extremely thick-skinned, so you mustn't care what people say about you. If you do, you wouldn't get a career in politics. So you just sail through it and think, yes, I was brilliant, and try and convince everybody that you were.
What I love about it is it's actually a very good way of sort of keeping abreast of what's on in the news.
Yes, this is true. People, I mean, it is. I mean, that is one of the things that really helps the longevity of the show, I suppose, is that your raw material is the news that's constantly changing the whole time. I mean, you know, there's been some games going on in London since we were last on air. I don't know if you caught up with them at all. But, so yeah, there's a whole sort of new sort of avalanche of news stories have come through. So that always keeps it fresh.
And Richard Attenborough provided you with a bit of an awkward moment, didn't he? Because he loved the show.
Oh, yes, he did. Well, he sort of, you know, I met him, you know, to meet Richard Attenborough, so Richard Attenborough, Lord Attenborough, you know, it's a wonderful thing. It's a great man of cinema and theatre. And he said to me, rather perplexed, and he said to me, you have made me pee myself with laughter. Then he paused and said, mind you, I have got diabetes. So I didn't know what to do with that. It sort of like started off funny and then all sad. That's the sad bit. But no, I wish him well. I hope he's well today. But yes, it was you know, when you meet somebody who you've seen since you were a child, I never think that they know who I am. I met Angela Lansbury about 2 years ago when we were doing a thing in Hollywood, and she knows who I was, and you know who I was, who I used to be. She knew that, and she told me on a piece of paper which I've lost. So I have no idea who I am now. So no, it is always a surprise when somebody, you know, on the other side of the world who's been a star for 50 years, it's always surprising when they know. Do you ever get that? Do you ever sort of, when you meet somebody... No.
Sadly, no.
So you've just finished a 50-date tour going all around the country, and this has actually been something, I mean, obviously stand-up is your roots, but you hadn't done it for a long time.
That's right, yes. I did a stand-up tour back in 1998, so that's about 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I usually do impro because it's you know, you don't have to do any work to do apart from make it up as you go along and be entertaining. That's the hard bit.
You have to be very good
but
at
you don't have to
impro
write
to do
it, you
that.
don't have to rehearse rehearse, you don't have to have props. But with this show, I do. So it's a written show, so we have props, we have special effects, we have people's heads floating at one point. There's a bit of ventriloquism that I'm doing. I'm always wanted to do it. Dancing, yes, although there are dancing girls, although two of them may not be girls.
Right.
Or dancers, particularly, if the truth be told. But yes, so it is a sort of variety feel to it, a bit of circus feel to it as well. And it's a lot harder than the improv, but of course it's like anything, you get your teeth into it. It's quite substantial.
Is it harder than the improv, or is that just because it's so
it is,
different
yeah.
for you? Because I think most people would look at improv and think that that was the toughest thing in the world,
That's a
to
knack,
not
isn't it?
plan.
It is a
Just
knack.
to
It's
do
a
that.
habit. It's a technique. It's like anything. You know, there's certain rules you can do. With improv, you're never on the stage on your own. There's always somebody else. The three of us would be in a scene together. If you haven't got an idea, you'll have an idea, or I'll have an idea, or vice versa. And the key thing in improv, like interviewing, is listening. If you've heard, if I come in and say hello, doctor, and you haven't heard me say that you're a doctor, and you
Then
start
you've
talking about the
lost it.
plumbing, then we're stuck. You know?
But you say there's a technique. Isn't it just that you do have naturally funny bones too? Because that must be part of it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's sort of it was something that I did at school. We didn't call it improvisation. I mean, we sort of ad-libbing, you know. But somebody says something in the school classroom, and you say something funny back. And I was doing it when I was about 8 or 9, really, without realising that I was sort of practising what would become my career.
So you would have been set aside from the other kids who would be 10 years older at that time, I suppose.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's odd because you can only be the 10-year-old that you were. You know, I don't know how about. I mean, I used to practice my autograph. I thought everybody did that, but no, they don't. Did you practice it? Well, yes. I mean, it shows that sort of like at an early age you had a sort of idea for a career or whatever, and so you think, well, if I ever, you know, what does my autograph look like if I ever get asked?
But were you studying comedy from that age?
Yes, I was, not hopefully in a nerdy way, but just stuff that I really liked. You know, I was of an age when Monty Python first started. I was about 12, so of course I got into that. But I'd known the Goons before that, and Hancock and the Marx Brothers, and going back to Chaplin and Buster Keaton. For me, the sort of history of it is as enthralling as the actual performances themselves. The fact that a film that Chaplin or Keaton made can still work with a live audience, with live music, and have people say, oh, that's a fantastic film 100 years later is astonishing to me.
We went on holiday a little while ago, and there was and just for the night, the hotel had a Chaplin film running on. They had a big wall on the outside of the hotel, and they ran in silence, a silent movie, and running up whilst people were sitting down having a drink. And my girls had never seen him before, and were in hysterics. So that's 19 and 16, and were laughing, saying, "Oh my God, this guy's incredible."
Well, children were the first to really get into him because he was quite a subversive character. You know, he was sort of kicking people up the arse and stuff like that. You know, and he was sort of, you know, thumbing his nose at authority. So they were the first to sort of really get into him. But the great thing about his career was within 10 years, what was basically showing pictures on a sheet on a wall had developed into the Hollywood that you understand now, and the grammar of film, what you could do with cinema. Hitchcock said that he believed that silent cinema was pure cinema because you tell the story all through pictures. He used to talk about close-ups of sort of being photographs of people talking.
And I guess if
That's
you
what he called it, you know.
understand it from that, then the story is so strong.
That's right. I mean, look at the success of The Artist, you know,
Yeah.
the
Yes,
last year,
absolutely.
you know, last few months. It was so beautifully done that actually, when there is an absence of sound or an absence of dialogue, it can draw you into the picture, draw you into the character a bit more. You have to do a little bit more work as a viewer.
So you still, on a Sunday night, go and do the Comedy Store. And have you done that for an incredibly long time? I mean, is that
Since
sort of-
1985, yes.
So is that because you love it so much, or is that because, like you were saying before, because it is a technique, you almost still need to get...
Oh, you have to
your-
keep practising it,
Yeah.
certainly. I mean, if I go on holiday and I haven't done the show for a couple of weeks, and when I come back, everybody else has sped up by about 15%.
Really?
Yeah, it takes about half an hour. So, hang on, all right, calm down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does. You really have to, like anything. I suppose it's helpful to think of it as like a muscle, really. It's like anything. You have to exercise it. If you don't, and they say the brain works on the same principle, you use it or lose it, you know.
Well, you're saying that you get into the zone with this,
Yes.
the surreal stuff that you do is
Yes.
like getting into a zone, like an athlete,
Yes,
I suppose.
yes, you do. I mean, when you're, you know, in your show, the show that we're doing at the Vaudeville, you know, there's several moments every night where you think, oh God, this bit's coming up now, this is great, and you get the laugh, and the laugh's different from the night before, and you try and extend the laugh in a way, and doing the written show, unlike the improv show. The written show is like a sort of model engine that keeps needing little bits of repairing because bits fall off. You know?
Well, it's Out of My Head. It's Vaudeville Theatre from the 1st until the 20th of October.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
I should go
Right.
myself.